Hello, welcome to today's audio log. The time is 9:58 p.m. on the 13th of December 2023. And it's been a day. It has been, honestly, not just today, yesterday as well, which is the reason why I didn't do an audio log yesterday. The past 2 days have been I don't know what the best word is to describe it. It's been a lot. This might end up being a longer audio log, like slightly longer than normal. I'll try to keep it short, and I won't go into too many details. But I'll try to get my point across and basically just put my thoughts out there. So yesterday, I guess I'll go over the less important things first. I watched a movie yesterday called Ad Astra, starring Brad Pitt. It was pretty good. I liked it, actually. I didn't know what to expect going in. I didn't even watch the trailer or anything. I just knew it was like it takes place in space, or like it has elements of space in it. And I like space. Space is cool. A fun fact, when I was a kid and people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I always said astronaut. And to this day, I think being an astronaut is one of the coolest jobs you can have. Unfortunately, as I got older, I realized that becoming an astronaut it takes a considerable amount of work. You have to be a very smart person. You have to be physically fit, and you have to. I mean, there's a whole list of prerequisites that you have to meet before you can even be considered to be an astronaut. And that kind of dampened my dreams, I'll be honest, but I still think being an astronaut is really cool, and I love all things to do with space. So, yeah, did that yesterday. And then I guess I'll fast forward to the other somewhat significant thing, which was that when my mum took Luna out for a walk, on her way back, she drove over like a plank of wood that was either left intentionally on the street, unlikely, but it's possible, or it fell out the back of someone's truck or van or whatever it was. But basically, this plank of wood had nails sticking out of it, and she basically ended up puncturing her tire in 2 places, and she had to buy a new one. So Luna was not able to go out for a walk today because we didn't have a car to take her. And it might sound strange to need a vehicle to take a dog for a walk, but the thing is, our local park, which is just up the road, you can easily walk to it. That park was the park that we took Luna to when we first got her. So after she had settled in, and we started walking her on a regular basis, which was my job at the time, I took her to that park because it's the most accessible and it's really easy to get around in. We unfortunately have had quite a few bad experiences in that park with other dogs and people, and that park now stresses Luna out if we take her there. She doesn't like it, which is why we had to choose a different one. And the other one that we have chosen is not walkable. We have to drive there. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. Long story short, tire got punctured, had to buy a new one. Luna couldn't go out for a walk today, but it has now been fixed, so we'll take her tomorrow. And that leads me on to the discussions that began taking place yesterday and have bled into today. Quite important discussions, and I will try to keep this fairly short. But basically, myself, my mother, and my sister are looking to get out of here, like where we are now. And I have lowered my voice because there are people in this house who would not react well to learning of this. And man, there's a lot of context that is needed to make sense of this, but basically, the environment in which we live right now is awful. It is really bad. It is not a healthy environment to be in, and unfortunately, we've been in it for, about 10 years now. So we are looking to leave, and there is a scheme here in the UK where you can sign up to put yourself on this list, and basically this list, it's a list of people who are in need of a new home, basically. And the reasons vary, but it's a long list, and it takes years to get to the front of it. We have been on it for years, and we are now at the front. And yesterday, we received an offer for a new place to go to. However, we will have to decline because we can't afford it. It would be financially irresponsible of us to accept the offer. So we unfortunately, and it was not an easy decision to make, but we have had to say no. And unfortunately, this means that we will, excuse me, we will be sent to the back of the queue again. So it's going to take multiple more years for us to get back into this position. So that's a pretty big blow to the, I guess, morale of us three, because we were essentially offered a golden ticket and we have had to decline it. But like I said, it would be really dumb of us to accept it right now because we are not financially stable. And then that kind of leads into my university, and my going to university. That obviously going to university costs money. Just ignoring the tuition fee, accommodation alone is going to be expensive. I am eligible to claim a student loan to alleviate the costs of this. However, the amount of money I get in that loan is determined by the combined annual income of my parents, which includes my mother, obviously, and unfortunately, my stepfather, who, by the way, is quite possibly, in my opinion, the worst human being I have ever met in my life. I'm not going to go into that right now because I would be ranting for hours about how despicable this man is. But basically, with their combined income, I would be getting the smallest amount of student loan. Which, it makes sense, assuming that all parties involved are willing to contribute. My stepdad is not. He hasn't contributed anything to me or to my sister or even to my mother for years. For basically as long as I've known him. He hasn't done anything for us, ever. He is a massive piece of shit. So, unfortunately, I will be receiving, if we don't move out now, which we're not going to because I just explained why, that means that I will be receiving the smallest amount of student loan, which will barely cover the costs of my accommodation, let alone the costs of the tuition itself. So I'm basically saying all this because it's all like under the same umbrella, which is that we are just not in a good position right now, financially. And it's been a massive conversation that we've had over the past 2 days. Tears have been shed. Emotions have run high. It has not been easy to handle. But we did some calculations earlier today, and even though I would be receiving the smallest amount of student loan by staying here, it is the better of the two options. Yeah, it just means that unfortunately, while I'm away at university, my mother and my sister will be continuing to deal with the struggle that is living here in this house. They're going to be stuck here for a few more years. And it really sucks. It really does. I mean, if it wasn't obvious, like, this is a massive blow to all of us. It's, the last thing that any of us wanted. But it's just another thing that we're going to have to make our way through and hopefully in the future tackle. So that's kind of been like the main thing. Yeah, I don't think there's much else I can say. It's just, that's just life right now. That's just what we're dealing with. So yeah, like, that whole thing is kind of why I didn't do an audio log yesterday, because my sister and I were talking about this like into the early hours of the morning, and then we spent a few more hours earlier today discussing it with our mother. So it's, yeah. And then on top of all of that, um, I I had this thought before yesterday, but basically I was considering reconnecting with my father, my real dad, who I have not spoken to in, I think, over 10 years. It's been a while. I was pretty unhappy with something that he did years ago, and I cut off all communication from him. But I think, and as my sister put it, uh, we are two very different people now. He's different, I'm different. And I think, when I start university, it's going to begin the next chapter of my life. And I think before that happens, I kind of want to put things to rest. I want to tie the knots. I want to handle any loose ends, so to speak. And, kind of get all the regrets and all that kind of stuff off my chest, off my shoulders. And then I can start on a clean slate. And, go from there. So lots of stuff has happened, lots of stuff to think about. And, I think that's going to do it for today. It's a lot to take in. I realize that. And for the handful of people who listen to these, I don't expect any sort of sympathy or anything like that. That's not why I'm recalling this. This is just this is for me, and I appreciate anyone who is willing to stick about and listen. So I'm going to call it here. I will be back tomorrow, probably, for the next one. Thanks for listening. Good night.